Alright, what's going on, guys? Today I've got a lot more discoveries to share with you guys, but before we dive into those, we need to have a little talk. Elden Ring is a huge game, and there are tons and tons of little secrets and things to find that a lot of people don't know, but there are millions of people looking for these. Now, I got a lot of comments in the last video kind of getting on me that I wasn't sharing a lot of gameplay secrets, but the thing is, the vast majority of those are already discovered. And for me personally, I like to dive into the lore a lot more than just the gameplay. And when it comes to a story in the Souls games and like Elden Ring, most of the details in the story are left up to interpretation. So when I say some speculations or refuse to draw a definite conclusion on something, I'm not trying to be 100% right, a lot of that is just my theory. And if I don't draw a conclusion on something, I want you to have your own theory as well. And we have a few discoveries today that are going to rely on that. So keep that in mind and let's dive into it. And have you ever wondered why an enemy in the beginning area of the game seems to be very easy in comparison to that same exact enemy at the end of the game? For example, this Cleanrot Knight here is fairly easy to deal with, going down in about 2 to 3 hits. However, if I pop over to the Hallig Tree and try to fight this Cleanrot Knight outside the prayer room, it takes a lot longer to kill him, and he simultaneously hits much harder than his earlier counterpart. Now, you probably didn't think much of it and maybe chalked it up to a simple leveling system. Well, now we know exactly why this is. It was recently discovered that rather than going off a leveling system, enemies are scaled based on the area they're located in. Now, it probably doesn't seem like anything too crazy, but what this now allows us to do is have a definite map of the areas and which order to tackle them in. And it also explains a big deal about how the game seems to jump in difficulty right at the midpoint. So if you're somebody that wants to play extra safe, go ahead and screenshot this because it's a great order of which areas to play first. So big shout out for finding that. I thought that was really interesting. Sorceress Sellen's quest is one of the most interesting in FromSoftware history. Her story goes that she was one of the most renowned scholars at the Raya Lucaria Academy. She was a little bit too smart for her own good though, because her curiosity took her into the study of the primeval current of glintstone, something seen very taboo at the academy, and resulted in her becoming an apostate witch, with its wage resulting in exile from the academy. But despite her exile and ruined reputation, did you know that her portrait still hangs right next to Queen Rennala? Which is very interesting, because it means that the Academy still respects her work, in spite of her dabbling in the more darker subjects. Now, when I saw this, a lot of people were trying to argue that this may not be Sellen. However, I think this is a rare case when we can say this 100% is her. If we put the portrait side by side with the data mined appearance of her beneath the mask, then it becomes pretty clear that that is exactly who it's supposed to be. Now, granted, the hairstyles are a bit different, however, the hairstyle that she has in the portrait doesn't actually exist for character models, and the fact that their attire is the same does a pretty good job at cementing that that is who it is. Now, I also saw the argument that that may be her master in the painting. However, Sellen herself was a master and she was the one who received all the recognition, so I'm not sure that makes a whole lot of sense, but either way, that is a really cool find. Not gonna lie, this next discovery had me a bit disappointed, because technically it puts a big theory about where the DLC would take place to rest. If you guys remember a while back to the video I made covering the signs of DLC, then you probably remember tracing all the lines between the Divine Towers led us to a point under the cloud, right in the middle of the map. Now, traveling to that point above the ground with cheats led us to a point in the middle of the ocean with a really weird unloaded texture. But now we were able to find that point below the water, and unfortunately it's a little bit lackluster. So if you place these markers under that point in the cloud, you can actually see them from Siofra River, and unfortunately it's just another ocean beneath. But this does reveal something kinda cool, that you can see them from another vantage point in the Erdtree depths. So unless this DLC loads in an entirely new area, which it very well could, I think currently the spot beneath the cloud is a dud. Quite possibly my least favorite enemy in the entire game is the Deathrite bird, specifically for the fact that it never stops moving. These things are such a pain to kill, and due to that fact, you likely didn't get that good of a look at their appearance. So did you know that situated within their ribcage are bodies? Now, I'm pretty sure there's only one attack that the Deathrite bird has where you even have a chance of looking at these, and it's an AoE, so you're probably spending your time running away. But regardless, that attention to detail is crazy. But you can also see small bodies in the wings carrying the stabs, which have a description that reads, "Ritual spear used by priests of old who were permitted to come among the death birds. The priests became guardians of the birds through rite of death, which also serves as an oath sworn to their distant resurrection." So I think it's safe to say that the bodies inside the Deathrite birds are the true bodies of these priests, and I really like that detail. If you've ever wanted to gain access to Leyndell, the royal capital, right when you start the game, a new tech has been discovered to allow you to do just that. Now the capital has some amazing weapons in it like the Bolt of Grandsax, but in order to get there you have to beat some really hard bosses. But for this trick, the only thing you have to beat is the Erdtree avatar in Liurnia of the Lakes, because you're gonna need the Ruptured Crystal Tear. And once you have that, make your way over to the Tower of Return. Take off all your armor and position yourself exactly like you see in the video. The goal of this is to trigger the animation played by the explosion of your flask right before your character hits the ground. And if you do everything correctly in this video, the animation of your character getting launched by the explosion will play right before you hit the ground, and it'll make the game think you fell from just above this railing. Now I've seen quite a bit of strategies to get here early, but I think this is the best one by far that doesn't require glitches or an invader that you can't count on. So that's definitely a cool one. This next discovery is one of those theories I was talking about at the beginning. This is one of those with no definite conclusion, where the answer is going to be up to you. But one of you guys over on Twitter found a lot of similarities between Goldmask and the Onyx Lords. So after I saw this, I started digging with a couple of you guys in the lore tab over on Discord, which if you're not in the channel Discord, I can't recommend joining that enough. I'll have it linked down in the pinned comment below. But there are quite a bit of similarities that go pretty deep, and just based on appearances, they both have that dark stone-like skin, they're about the same height, have those unnatural elongated necks, and wear very similar attire. But the thing that I found that was really interesting is that if you sneak up on the little guardians standing around the Onyx Lords, they do an eerily similar crucifixion pose to what Goldmask is doing in the mountaintops of the Giants. And the only difference is that Goldmask hands are turned flat, while these guys have their palms forward. But if you want to run with a little conspiracy theory here, the Onyx Lords carry weapons made from gold meteorites. And the only golden meteorite that we know of is perhaps the one the Elden Beast arrived on. The very thing that Goldmask inadvertently is trying to commune with. But if you want another interesting discovery about Goldmask, after revealing the secret to him that Radagon is Marika, he'll supposedly go into a very uncomfortable state. However, his pose doesn't really reveal his distress. That is, unless you go and see him as a summon. If you join somebody's world after they've told him the truth, you can find him in this secret pose clutching his face in distress. I'm not sure exactly why this only appears when you're a summon, but it is extremely interesting and something I want to investigate further. And for the final one today, did you know about the origin of the name of the god-eating serpent? Based on the name of the Site of Grace here, the serpent's name appears to be Egle, which appears to be clearly derived from an old Lithuanian fairy tale, one about Egle, the Queen of Serpents. In a brief and simple explanation, the tale revolves around a maiden named Egle who found a grass snake in her clothes. The snake could talk in a human tongue and told her that the only way it would go away is if she married him. Through the snake's persistence and with Egle not fully understanding the consequences, she was then visited by thousands of snakes that were attempting to bring her to their master who she would marry. But Egle and her family managed to deceive the snakes through various means of bribes until a cuckoo in the tree told the snakes the truth, and Egle was taken by the snakes to the bottom of the sea, where she met the grass snake prince. Now the story has a lot more to it, and it's definitely not a basis for Rykard's lore, but I still think it's super interesting that the name can be traced all the way back to that tale. But guys, that's gonna pretty much do it for the video today. I hope I showed you something that you didn't know. We're starting to get to a point in these discoveries where things are becoming very obscure, with millions of people playing the game and going in the lore hunting route, and data miners being able to trace and read every single file in the game. Many of these big and mind-blowing discoveries are going to start being things that go beyond the game. So if you like the idea of digging into the mythology, I've got a lot of videos planned to cover just that. But if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll catch you in the next one.